everyone, this is Nikki from Little Blue Artworks, and today I'm going to show you how to be felting a cute little bee. So I'm going to show you some of the materials you're going to get inside your project packs. You will get a Little Blue business card, which will have my website, my Facebook, my Instagram, and my contact email. You will also have the welcome letter, which will tell you a bit about what you get in your contents. It will also give you the link to this tutorial you're watching just now, and also a link to a very basic needle felting tutorial if this is your first time needle felting. Some of the tools inside your pack: you'll find a handmade pad, and this is your needle felting pad to protect your needles as you're working on your table. You'll have 3 needles. The green one is the large, the pink one is the medium, and the red one is the small. You will also find 2 thin black pipe cleaners, around about 12 inches of thin black wire, 2 pairs of felting glass eyes. The ones we will use for the life-size bee are the 3mm. I also have slightly larger size in the 4mm, depending if you want to make 1 or 2 bees at different sizes. I also have a range of sizes in bee wings. This is printed onto cellulose acetate. You're able to just cut around these for your bee and use the correct size for what you're making. The images on the printout are taken from actual bees' wings. You will also have 3 colours of wool. You'll have your soft white merino, some black Corriedale roving, and some bright yellow Corriedale roving too. The tools that I'll be using in this project are a pair of sharp scissors. These are sewing scissors. A pair of wire cutters. Sharp scissors can also do the trick. And some glue. For this tutorial I'll be using Bostik all-purpose clear glue because it's quick drying and fast working. So now we're going to get to working on our bee. Right folks, so we're going to start off by taking out the black pipe cleaner from your project pack, and we're going to measure approximately 6 centimeters here. This is going to be for a smaller size bee. We're zoomed in nicely this morning to get a good shot of the detail we're working on. So I'm just going to bend that there, and I'm going to bend that in half because I need 3 lengths of the pipe cleaner at 6 centimeters. So I'm going to bend that over once and twice, and then I'm going to cut it, and you can either use some wire cutters or some good sharp scissors. And I'm going to cut at the bends there as well. 1, 2. So we should have 3 equal size lengths of this extra thin black pipe cleaner that we're working with. And the first thing we're going to do is take 2 of them to start on the legs. Round about in the middle of those 2, I'm going to give them a few twists. 1, 2, 3. So that will make us the middle there, which is going to be the body and where we're going to wrap the wool around. And one of these sides will be the front and one will be the back of the bee. For the middle legs, this last pipe cleaner over the middle there, and in the middle of that pipe cleaner I'm going to bend down, wrap that around. So we should have this sort of thing going on. These will be the sides of the legs. I'm not keen on this bit because it looks a little bit spidery. So now we've got that part, we're going to take some of our black wool and we're going to start wrapping around the middle there. I'm just going to take the front and the back legs and straighten them out a bit to make it easier to work on that front section. Just going to hold it down with my thumb and start wrapping around in front of those 2 legs there, and then I'm going to go behind it. The wool's getting thicker now, so I'm just kind of crossing over back and forth until that bit is finished there. And I want that to hold on, so with my medium needle I'm just going to push that through, and you have to be careful for this project not to hit the wire in the pipe cleaners. I'm going to turn it over and get the back done. See how I'm not pushing too hard. If I feel resistance, then I can stop pushing as I've hit a wire and I don't want to break my needle. So now we're about here. I'm just going to add on a little bit more wool where the bum and the head would be, over this way and round. So I'm going to go in between here and here. I'm going to go around this way. Pushing that through. I'm just slightly felting it down because this is going to be the core of the body. I'm going to try felting through a little bit, and you don't need to over felt it because it's such a small thing we're working on. You just want to make sure it's holding together okay. So there we are. This is going to be the top of my bee, and this is going to be the underneath of the bee. I'm going to push start of those legs over my thumb to have it curve down, and then on the bottom I'm going to bend it out like that, and I'm going to do this all the way around. You can get a bit of a sense of the bee there. It's still looking a bit spiderish. Not keen, guys, not keen. So the first thing we're going to decide is where the head's going to go, and I think mine will go on this side. So we'll pop him over there. I'm going to take some more of that black wool, and to make a little head I'm just going to wrap that around my finger. I have a piece of wool to work with. I'm going to fold that over again to make it even smaller, and I'm just going to fold it over again into a small ball. Just going to hold on with my nail using my medium needle. I'm going to push through. Obviously this will go into your mat. Again, just pushing through and not stabbing. After a few times it will hold itself onto the mat and you can let go to save your finger. However, you don't want it sticking, so now and again just peel it off and give it a turn, and we'll just do that again on this side. Just keep turning and pushing through and stabbing till we've got a nice small firm ball, which is going to be the head of the bee. So if you find your head is too small, you can always add to it by wrapping around some of that other wool onto the ball there. Hold it down gently on the mat, watching your fingers, and start pushing through. And remember, when you are felting, it's going to make that size smaller than what it looked like while the fibres were still loose. I'm going to roll it in my fingers just to help the felting process a little bit. If you wet your fingers doing this, that will help also. Now at this point, if you have some sharp scissors handy, and I've got some really nice sharp sewing scissors, good for doing small projects like this, you can just trim off the excess hairs to give that a smoother appearance. I'm going to try sticking that on my bee and see how he's looking. Instead of going through the head, I'm going to go in through the bottom of the head. If you feel resistance, again, just pull the needle out and find a different spot. You just want the fibres from the bottom of that head to connect to the fibres in the body. I feel like his head's firmly on now, and he's looking like a little beetle at the moment, I suppose. So next we're gonna go and make some colour on him, and we're gonna make it like fur. And if you've never done fur before, what I tend to do is start from the back forwards. The fur will be attached to the bee coming this way down towards its tail. So if we start with the tail, then we don't need to go under the fibres if we'd started from the neck down. So we're going to start with the tail, which is white, and then we're going to come in with a line of black, and then we're going to come in a line with the yellow, and then we have black again, and then the collar, which is yellow. That's the next part for the body. So we're going to take out some white from the project pack, and you should have some lovely soft white merino. And if you have a large thick length, you're not going to manage to break the fibres this way, but you will manage to peel them this way. However, if you're not holding much, you will manage to break the fibres as long as it's just a small piece at a time like this. And we can have a piece like that. We do need a shorter length to work with, so I'm going to try and pull that in half, and half that again. At this point it's too thick for me to break the fibres, so I'm going to half it this way by peeling it down and just holding pieces at the end there. I can break the fibres this way and then stack them again under my thumb and then hold and break again. And I'm going to do this a fair few times to build up a small piece of the white as a patch on my thumb, so the fibres are all being stacked and going in the same direction. That will be too much to work with, so again I'm going to half that down Now I've got quite a bit to work with there. Nice and fluffy. And the fibres have been broken so they're shorter. I'm going to half that and just work with a small piece at a time. So we'll start with this one. Then right in the middle of those fibres there is where I'm going to attach to the bee. I'm going to half that and just break them down even further to a much shorter length. So now I've got that as a lovely soft stack of fibres going in the same direction. I'm going to attach that onto the bum of the bee this way, right in the middle of the length of fibres. I'm going to attach that through the middle. I'm going to try with my medium, just gently pushing through, being very careful of my fingers and thumb and felting that into the bottom. Watch those wires inside. Okay, didn't take much to attach that. I'm just using the end of my needle to fluff that up and check it. I'm going to add some more, taking some of those fibres I broke earlier. I'm going to stack it on top of this bit here. Again, middle of that length of fibres, pushing through into the bottom of the bee. Now I'm going to pull them down and have a look. I want the fibres sticking out this way. And just to give it a slightly bigger butt, and make sure it's definitely fluffy enough, take a little bit more. I'm going to try folding this length over my thumb there and felting this fold into the very top of where the butt would be, using my medium needle, pushing that in there. Now that's looking like a nice size. Again, I'm pushing through the wool in the body and not the wires and the pipe cleaners. That's nicely felted on. Fluffing them again out this way, and I'm going to give that a little bit of a trim down, not on my mat, easier on the table, and then can be wiped down so it doesn't mix with your other fibres. Instead of chopping it along that way, I'm going to go in this way with the scissors and just take that down slightly. Depends how fluffy you want your bee to look. You don't have to go for complete realism. Our little fluffy butted bee. I'm going to go back on the mat here. The next colour will be black, and we're going to do this in a similar way as the butt. We're going to really try hard not to mix those fibres together. We've already trimmed down the white there. So we're going to go in back with the black wool here on the table. I'm going to again stack up some fibres going in the same direction. I'm going to half that down so it's easier to work with. Put those ones aside for later. I'll need them for the middle of the bee. Breaking down this size here now. Becoming a little bit harder to break the length. I'm going to half that again. Break these ones down. And then I'll break these ones down. Okay, now I think we're ready to connect them on the bee. Bring my mat back here. I'm going to start with his right side there, just above where the start of the bum is. I'm going to make a line of the fuzz felted on but coming down this way. I'm going to wrap that length over my thumb to get a fold there, and that fold will be the bit that's going to be felted on. I'm going to do it on this half here, very carefully pushing through into the body. There'll be places obviously that you cannot do this and places that will let you do it. If you feel resistance, just don't push it through. Try and maybe push it through the side if it's not going down. Okay, that's one side done. There. Again, I'm going to take the other bit of fluff. I'm going to bend this over my thumb. You can see that bit of fold to work with there, and that will be attached to the bee on this side. I'm going to hold that down. Okay, I think that's firmly felted on. Pushing my mat aside, I want to trim down a little bit on the length. The length of the butt fibres is a lot shorter than the second length of fibres we've just put on with the black. I don't want those blacks to go on my mat, so I'm going to pull them as if they're going straight up on the bee. He's looks a bit like a porcupine or something right now. So he's on his side there, pointing away from the white. Just going to go in for a blunt cut first, just because some of them are so lengthy. Facing his head downwards so that the cut fibres don't fall into the fibres in the bum of the bee. Pulling out any bits that did land in the white there off. Now we can go on to the next bit with some yellow. Okay, so now we've got the bum bit on, we've got the black bit on. Next we're going to go for the yellow. So we've got a nice piece of orangey yellow here. I'm going to pull some of that off. I'm going to start breaking down the fibres like before. You'll be a pro at this by the end of this project, breaking and restacking fibres. And I'll speed this up. I just want the fibres to be a lot shorter than this. So I have a nice size there to work with. I'm going to half that again, and in the middle of the fibres, bend it over my thumb and work with this area here. That fold is going to be the part that's going into the bee. This side first. That fold should come about halfway up your bee. If you're finding you've already done too much, just put it on or over the black that you've already felted in, because you still need room for another layer of black and then another layer of yellow. No, it's not going to do, so just move your position. And there's one half, fold it over, work with the fold in the same place, hold that down, push through the fold. Just going over the fold now that it's on, just to make doubly sure. Definitely felt it in. Now I'm going to fluff this yellow, sticking right up in the air, his head facing down, butt in the air. Going to give that a good trim around about the same place, the same length as the black from before. Pulling that off, trying really hard not to mix those two colours up there. Using your needle, you can just comb that fuzz down this way, pick any loose bits off, and give her fuzz a little brush there. So you're just going to keep working this way. You're going to do one more layer of black in the same way, and then around about the shoulders, right up to the bottom of the neck there, and that will be the last. So I'll speed this up a bit. Right, there she's got all her fur on now, and I'm seeing that some of her stripes are a little bit larger on one side than the other. Also giving her legs a pull out. So now she's on her tummy with her legs splayed like this. I can go in with my medium needle. I'm just going to brush those fibres down, try and get them looking in the same length. Now here we have a bit more black than on the other side there, so I'm just going to pull some of those fibres back up this way and push them in here a little bit. You find a place for the needle to go through, of course. Push them in. You can go on and add if you really need to, even at this point. I feel like she needs a bit more of the yellow here, so I'm just going to break off some fibres, and I've broken these down to a shorter length. Fold them in half there, and then this part is going to go somewhere in here. I think underneath on the yellow, somewhere on top of that last piece of black there. That's where it belongs, and I'm just going to push that fold in wherever it will go. Trying to be careful not to stab the fibres above or below it, because we still want them coming down. We don't want them to be suddenly felted in, going into the bee. Go and look under it there. Push them in. I'm going to fluff down that black again here and go down with the yellow. Should have a bit more yellow there to work with. That will need a trim upside down while I'm doing this, so that the fibres fall down onto the desk and not into the other areas of the bee. Now again, she's just going to get a little brush with my medium needle. And you just keep playing with her until you've got that looking good as she's going to get. Now we've got her looking all fuzzy buggy, much less like a spider, more like a bee now. We're going to pop in some eyes and some feelers. Okay, so we're going to move on to some of the details of the bee, starting with his teeny tiny little eyes. These are 3mm glass eyes on stems, and we're also going to do some feelers. Inside your project pack you should have a length of 0.5mm thin wire to work with, and we're going to make our feelers with this. So to do the feelers first, I'm just going to stick her on her side. I'm going to use my fine needle to try and go through the top of her head to make a hole, and this will go all the way through. Now I'm going to try going in with my larger needle just to widen that hole. Need to push quite firmly through. I'm going to go in and out a few times, and if you see that hole there, use your wire and then you should be able to pop it through. Yes, we got it going there. And we don't want that too long. Just going to pull it down a bit. If you happen to have some glue, you can secure that in place. I use Bostik all-purpose glue for my projects because it's really quick drying, and I'm just going to pop a bit there, not too much, lid straight back on, and then in it goes into the head. Yep, that's becoming a little bit more secure there. Because I want them the same length, I'm going to stick them straight up in the air, so she's coming out her head there, just to have a look at them. I'm going to trim them down to around about 1 centimetre long. That went right in my cup of tea. Now she's got 2 sticky up feelers on her head, and I'm just going to bend that over my thumbnail so you've got them coming down. A bit of added detail to give her an extra bit of bee-ness. Now she just needs her tiny little eyes in. So in the same way we're going to make some holes with the medium needle, but she's going to be placed on her butt now. So we're going to have them come in at an angle and through the other side. Beware of your fingers. So I've made that hole there and then out a few times, and that should pop in. There we go. One little eye in, other side. There we go. She's got a bit of extra fuzz coming out there, so again I'm going to trim that down. You can fix that in with a bit of glue, which I might do later. It's going to refluff her after all that kerfuffle. Now she can see. And if you want to, you could do a tongue. Do that in exactly the same way, except down below where her tongue would be coming out, just a little bit of that wire going through. I'm going to hold the needle in place while I pop a tiny little bit of glue on my wire. Now you don't want to go into the other side. Now, obviously rather a long tongue, so using your scissors or some wire cutters, you want to trim that down. He's just got her tongue out a bit for me there. Okay, so next we're on to the wings. So in your project patch you will find some printed bee wings, and I've made them in different sizes and printed them onto cellulose acetate. These just need to be cut out, and I'm going for the second smallest size for my bee here. It all just depends on the size you're going for. You do need some good lighting to be able to cut around the lighter shading on the acetate, and you can either cut them keeping them both together like this, or you can cut them one wing at a time. It depends how you're going to go. With this bee here, his wings are attached one at a time. However, with your new one, if you want to, you can cut them and keep them together like so, and then just make a fold in the middle and it will fold over, and that middle fold would then attach through here, so you could have them sticking up, or as I say, individually just have them coming down. So she's in a flower having a look around, or this one she's about to take flight. So I'm going to do the take flight one, but it's just exactly the same principle. I'm going to use the thin wire that's in your project packs to come through the bottom of the bee out to the top and attach it, and this will come over the middle of the wings. If you are doing them individually, you need to make a hole on the bottom of each wing with your needle. I would suggest using your large green needle to do that hole, and then your wire is going to come through the hole and bend over to attach to the bee. Now the wings are going to be for that first stripe of black down from the head, so that's where they're going to go. So to get the hole going, I'm going to go in there, parting some of those fibers out the way because I don't want to felt them all through, and then we'll come up here, and I want to put the needle, push through the needle down through the bee. Now obviously you've got your pipe cleaners there, so this is going to be tricky to find a spot. You're just going to keep going till that spot comes up. I'm going to flatten her legs down again so she's a little bit easier to work with. I'm going to try that with my large needle now. If you have something else that you can make that hole with to enlarge in it, you could use that, like an awl. I'm going to use that there. Hole that I can see. The wire should go through. Okay, coming through. So I'm just going to bend that. Can put a little bit of glue in it for extra security if you want. Bend it over. I'm just sticking it down there. Now we've got it coming through. Now for the wings, I need to make a hole. I'm going to go, as they're attached together and it's going to be flying wings, I'm going to go right in the middle here with my large needle. And that has made a hole. If I take that out, that can go there. That's on the wire. I can push that down now. Now that wire is way too long to work with, so I'm going to trim it right down. Right down as far as it will go. Hold up those wings here. Then I'm using my large needle here. I'm going to fluff up around the wire so that you don't see it anymore. Now that's the wings attached. I'm going to add a little bit more fluff in between the wings there. I'm just going to go in, fold that over like I did before, and that fold's just going to go right in front of the wings there. Use my medium needle, pushing that through any area that it's going to attach. You might have to go in sideways. Here, you want to make sure that bit's still sticky uppy. You can even go one or two through the wings there. So off she comes off the mat. I'm going to give that extra bit some attention. Back to the hairdressers for her. Refluffing. I've had to refluff her a few good times now. Oh, she's looking great now. Much more bee-like. So unlike this bee, the only thing different is that she's got big fat legs. So to take them down, this is my little trick for getting the legs. As I've given you extra thin pipe cleaners to work with that are already black and they've got black hairy legs, you can just leave them as they are. Or if you have a little bit of felter's wax, you can use that. Or glue. And what you're going to do is just put a little bit on the end there and then twist it. And as I'm working with Bostik glue, it's very quick drying. So I'm just going to pop a little bit there and the lid back on, and this should dry very quickly. I'm going to work it in back and forth and all the way around a little bit and then start to twist those fibres down. But I'm leaving that bit on the top fuzzy, extra fuzzy. That's her little thighs, you see. And that's one done. I'm going to do that now with all of her legs. You might want to make sure before you start this process that they're a good length, that they're somewhat equal length. I think the back legs are slightly longer than the others, so that's okay if you've got that. For the middle legs, we'll work it in and then start twisting. There's the middle one. I'm going to do that all the way around and speed this up. And there's her legs done. This one's got a bit of hair sticking out. I'm just going to tidy her up now. You don't obviously want her legs just all sticking out like that. It's not a good look for a lady. Back to the bending. There she's looking up so I can show you. The leg comes over my thumb there, and then down, and then out at the end. All the way around with this. Up and out. There you go. The legs at the back should be sort of pointing out that way. And lastly, last little fluff after all that manhandling. And finally, there you have our little queenie bee. Ain't she cute? Here's her friend I made earlier. And if she needs a little bit of a trim, so be it. Maybe you could photograph her on some flowers or in the grass. And please share them in my Little Blue Felting group on Facebook. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I'll be seeing you again soon for another feltorial. If you bought this kit on my Etsy page, please could you consider leaving me a review, and any recommendations on my Instagram and Facebook page also so much appreciated. Thanks for joining me for this fun little project, and I hope to see your pictures soon. Thanks for watching!